Okay, rightio. What you're about to see is stuff I shot at the same time as the last video, but it was getting a bit long, so we cut it down. But we are back with the GMC. I believe I was wiring it, I think. Anyway, yeah. So we'll catch you after the intro, and it'll just roll into whatever I was doing. Well, that's not good. Well, just when I thought I was making heads or tails of the wiring, I thought the dash side was done, but I found more bodgy tucked away. So there's this random pull switch, and it's just been like bodgy joined into the main harness down here, like connecting. They've just cut two wires and then put it in between it, so I'm going to piss that off and join that back up. I got the factory fuel tank switch in, which took a bit of fiddling. I had to find a wiring diagram for it because they'd cut the plug off the end of it and like spidered it. They used the toggle switch, so for some reason, I don't know why. These toggle switch, so they needed to like make wires jump the other side of the switches, and it was a fucking mess, but I got around it. I'm going to cut this out now, rejoin it, and yeah, I've got the fuse box bolted back in, and it's connected through to the engine bay side. It like sandwiches through the firewall. There's a screw in it. That's connected up. I haven't done anything else in here. I just was cleaning wiring out. Like, got in the cab to do the fuse box and then started playing with everything else. So that's mad. But yeah, we'll get there. Oh yeah, get rid of that. What fresh hell have we got here? Big double solar. Get rid of that. I don't understand why so much weird random switches doing nothing. Okay, I got this truck without the instrument cluster or dashboard in it, so I don't actually know how this goes together, but I'm just going to start poking stuff into things and we'll see what we can do here. Okay, what do you do? Radio. Okay, well that can go over there, I guess. I think I've got all the bodgy plugs and switches and whatnot cut out of it. 3-prong something. AC, so that also comes over to here. The heater controls, like for your demist and what have you, blend door controls I should say, they managed to explode when I was working around in the dash, like the whole bracket and everything blew off the back of them, so that's just great. I'll have to deal with that. And then there's like a bundle of just random fucking wires everywhere. What do you do? That's another AC thing. What? Why is there two plugs with AC written on them? Oh, you can go over there too, bud. What would that be for? I can not really make out it. EM emergent. Is that handbrake light? I'm gonna say probably emergency. Okay, run that over to there. It can go with all its radio buddies. Now I think the only wire left here is all to do with the lights. That's a ground that's got to get bolted up, so it can go over there too. I don't know. Does it have numbers on the back here, mate? Am I missing something on the back of this thing? No. Huh. Okay. I might have to do a bit of Googling to try and work out this wiring diagram because I didn't pull this dashboard out. Alright, there's the bezel. And can't imagine why it blew up. It was never turboed supposedly, just casually has a boost gauge and a EGT gauge in it, but that's fine. There's numbers written on this. So I've got 2, 6, that's a 3 and a 4 there. And then I've got, yeah, the same there. They hacked the dash out for a radio, which is pretty annoying. So I'm going to have to buy another one of these. And then I'll just get one of them AM size Bluetooth Jim Bobs and put it in it. I'm probably going to take that plate out because I don't need it. I think they've actually deleted a vent as well and put that there, but that's fine. I don't know what that hole's for. Maybe it's the, well, it's not the ashtray because the ashtray's in the dash. That's the ashtray. So I don't know what's going on there, but I'm gonna take them off because I mean it's not turbo yet. We'll see. Alright, I got it sort of worked out. Those are the lighting for the 2 gauges I just deleted, so I'll pull the bulbs out. We've got the numbered ones to go to the wait to start and fuel and water thing. The other one that was on this circuit here is the headlight light that went in there. So I'm putting the dash together and it fits like absolute fucking trash. So I've got it touching here and it's that far away here, so I guess I've got to wiggle the wiring harness around to get it into the right spot that this cluster will fit in. I don't even know if the cluster was fitted all the way in the first place, because I don't know, it wasn't here when it got pulled apart. So she's pretty rowdy. The right hand drive swap on this is fucking trash. Like look at the mess they made of the dash. I mean, in half a mind of maybe left hand drive swapping it back and just buying a new left-hand drive dash harness. But then I've got to find a column because they cut the column. It'll be a whole mess. Well, I just shot a bunch of stuff but didn't actually hit record. So I've got the dash cluster in and I've just test fitted the outer cover on to make sure it all lines up, and it is. Yep. But yeah, you can see it's down and bolted in now, so that's alright. And I've got my 2 loose wires for the wait to start and the water separator, which it doesn't have a water separator on it anymore, so that wire doesn't probably do anything. And then that's all the mess for the radio and heater controls and whatnot that's down there that decided to explode. All the vacuum stuff on the back of it come out. So now I'll get the dash cover and I get to dig through this bucket here and find the correct bolts to put that on there, because I never pulled that out either. What's that wire? What do you do? Oh, that's the glow plugs. I need that one. So the factory glow timer thing that's in the head is rooted. They're like $300 to replace, and apparently they fail all the time. This already had this push button put in, so I'm just reusing it. I mean, she's not a pretty truck, so I don't care if the glow plugs are manual. And if I want to get real fancy, I can just wire an different electric timer onto that. But that's probably not going to happen. Watching C10s? Building C10s. There's the dash pad. It's not real good, but it's they've hacked it to like swap it from left hand to right hand, and it's the only one I got, so it's what we're gonna have to run. You can see they've like fiberglassed it here, there, and everywhere to make it work, and then they've recovered it in this brown vinyl, which is okay, but it's sort of shrunk up in spots and is wrinkly. So I'm going to fix that by putting a dash mat on it. But while the dash is off, all these vents are broke off. So I've got to work out which way does this go. Does it go like, does that step down there? Maybe? probably. And then that'd have to go that way, surely. Yeah. And then I'll just glue them on, I guess, because all the bloody pins are broke off them. See? I'm supposed to have these square, like pressed nuts that screw on and sandwich it together with the nameplate. But they're all broke off. There's enough on there to hold the nameplate in, so that'll be alright, and I'll just glue these to the back of the dash, and we'll call that good. And this corner's all peeled up, so I'll probably glue that down as well. See if I can wrap this back around and glue it. Also, bloody hell, jeez, messy. There for me for a minute. It'll go right on the ground too, that's perfectly fine. Just find a hole down there to go. Right, go. Fucking hell, this thing's heavy. Fuck this light off. Get up there. I'm gonna have to open that other door. Fuck me. Okay, that's looking like a thing. The center vent's still lined up, mate. Okay. This side vent's not the best, but it's still glued. There we have it, all bolted in. Dash pad's all nice and solid. Unless you knock on it real hard. I've got to try and put this bezel on. Yep, just like that. Yep, we're going to go with that. And then I've got to find the screws that screw that to things and stuff. Yep, this is making sense now. So, sort of kind of making sense anyway. Oh, look at that. Okay. That's looking good, apart from that mess, but that's fine. Okay, let's see if we can put the glove box in. I've got to zip tie up a bunch of wiring over there, make it neat again, and we'll go from there. It's probably the most together it's been in a long time. Look at that. Oh, my lanta. So that glue dries and get that tape off there and put the vents back in there. That'll be nice. Oh, I've got to push the rubber ring down. That sort of explains why the steering wheel's so low. Look at the angle of that compared to the angle of the column. So my theory was right. They welded that column too far down because that's it tilted all the way up. It goes heaps far down. I'm not sure what you're going to be doing with that. Yep, so that sounds like a problem for a future me. Yeah, look at that. I knocked that panel off down there that the carpet was all falling off. I'll probably just run it the bare painted steel and deal with it later because it's pretty haggard. It's all warped. The carpet's buggered, so you can buy them infill pieces down the bottom, but I thought when I bought the seat cover and that, I thought mine were good, but they're not. So, good luck. But nah, pretty happy with that. I've got the chrome bits, but the grab handles are missing, so I'll have to do new grab handles there. All the locks and everything work. Mad. She's looking like a truck again. Now, I've still got to do the engine bay. I haven't done the engine bay yet. I started doing the engine bay, then someone called me, and then I started on the cabin. So, we'll get onto the engine bay now, but now all that's done, it makes me feel much better. Alright, I'm working my way through the wiring in this engine bay, getting it to lay out. I've forgotten how it lays, so that's great. You can tell that because I just done this entire run of wire, and it's supposed to be down here, not up there, and I've got to, like, stuff this mess back through there, so that's great. But I got this side right. I've got the window washer bottle back in, even though the lid's buggered. That's all nice. This is like that's the coolant temp sensor, or coolant level sensor wire. I don't know why it comes out on the passenger side and has to go all the way over to here, but it does, so we're going to run it. That all looks pretty neat there. I've got to run the glow plug wires. They go underneath the injector lines there, through that hole there, so I haven't run them yet. And then pin it back to the firewall. I've just got it loose now because I was pulling this through. I had to go and have a feed, so I did, and now I'm back. And I'm going to unthread that mess and thread it through the correct spot. Mad. Fucking mad. Whose idea was it to buy a fucking GMC with a blown motor, eh? I better have a look at the interior to make me feel better. Oh, you're looking pretty good. Right, we've got the wiring harness in. Don't have the injector pump hooked up yet, and then this wire that's missing the plug on it, I'm pretty sure goes into that. So we'll deal with that, but that's coming from the auto harness or something. I don't know, it's got something to do with the throttle position sensor. So I don't understand why it's got one on it. Maybe for kickdown, but then it's a Turbo 700, so it's cable kickdown. I don't know. So I've got the starter motor not hooked up and the injector pump not hooked up, but the batteries are in, negatives on, everything else is plugged in. Let's see if we get any lights and sirens on the inside, eh? Okay. Okay, indicators are flashing. Clock's ticking. Our glow plugs are working. Mad. I've got 3 hooked up. I need to change the glow plugs out. Most of them have got the little tangs on the back of them broke off. Where's the headlight switch? Yeah, I think last time I had an issue with this, I didn't have any headlights either. Was it something to do with the high beam switch maybe? Can't remember. I had to like feed power into the switch. It was like it wasn't getting power at all. Well, it must be doing something because they've got tail lights. Okay. Tail lights off the switch. No dash lights and no headlights. Oh no, I got headlights. Okay. I didn't have headlights before. I got a headlight. Well, it's better than it was when I was playing with it last time. So what happens when I hit this high beam light? You guys watch that. Okay, the headlights did work for a minute there. Now they don't do nothing, so that's fine. Did I have brake lights? I can't remember if I had brake lights. I thought I had brake lights last time. Maybe it's something to do with the switch. I'll have to check that behind the dash. And keep digging around. Oh, wait a minute. Does the ciggy butt lighter work? We better check that, eh? Oh, hello. Oh, we're in business now. Ready for Rego, mate. Cigarette lighter works. Okay, we're working through a bit of stuff. So I've got a couple of dash lights. I've got that one now and the one for the wiper. And they do dim and whatnot. But this indicator's light's staying on, but the indicator in the car isn't. So it's something in the dash. And I've got high beam off the dip switch without the lower lights. And no low beam. So this headlight dip switch is buggered, or there's something going on with it. I'm constantly getting high beam with only the top set and no low beam. But when I pull the wires off and bridge them, I get low beam as well. So that switch is buggered. I bought a switch and I give it to Justin to put in his 52 Chev because his one was playing up. So I've got to. I'll have to order another one of them. I don't understand. I've got to dig through the wire, and I don't know whether it's odd that both lower high beam bulbs are blown, but maybe they are. I'll trace the wire, and that passenger side headlight high beam is dicky. The plug's fucked. It's all disintegrated, so I have to do something about that. But it's getting late, so there's not much else I can do. I can disconnect the batteries and go inside, have a snooze, and come back out and hit it again tomorrow. We'll see what I can do. Back on the rig again, troubleshooting this weird headlight thing with the headlights on, the indicator lights on the dash are lighting up. So I've worked it out to be something wrong with the front indicators. The rears are fine. When I unplug the bar indicator, this would light up. Dully, but lighten up. So it's pulling a ground. There's a bad ground up here somewhere and it's pulling a ground through the indicator circuit. And then the more bulbs I put back in here, the brighter it shines. On the dash, the brighter it shines. So I put that back in. I've already got the ball bar indicator on, or in. And then that one's bright as. If I pull both bulbs out, I have no light on the dash. So there's a funny ground up the front here. It doesn't help that ground's like a rusty bolt for that. Right, so that's both bulbs out. And now you come into the cabin. Headlights are still on, I haven't touched them. And that light's out. And that one was duller until I put the bull bar bulb back in it, so it's definitely working. I also fixed the high beam switch. I pulled it apart and knocked the electrolysis off the contact point, so it's working fine again. I bolted it back down. I worked out I've got power and ground going to the lower high beam light, so the bulb must be blown. That says H1 on the glass, so it's a replaceable bulb. I'll go to the parts shop and I'll grab a pair of them. But yeah, I was mucking around with that yesterday, and see, those two wires are off the lower high beam light, power and ground for it. So we've got power and ground going to it. Just doesn't work, so the bulb's blown on it. Annoyingly, you got to pull the bulb out the front, or the lens out the front to get the bulb out of it, which is pretty annoying. That's fine. But we're getting there. So, factory, when this thing was an American car, that doubled as a parker and an indicator. So the wiring for the front of it looks like a bloody mess. There's cut wires and stuff just hanging around, so I'll chase that a little bit. This ground for the side indicator, which didn't work, but does work. The bulb's fine, but it doesn't light up with the indicators. That ground might be shit, so I'll sort that out. It's the same on both sides. I'm guessing that was probably done when it came into Australia. Both bulbs look fine. The filaments are like intact in it, so if it's getting power, it should work. I'm going to guess it's got a bad ground because it's all rusty in there. So, yeah. We're slowly getting down to it. Yeah. Okay, still fumbling along here. Got the brake lights to work. The brake pressure switch was a bit out of adjustment. It also doesn't help. This is hydro boost, so without the engine running, you can't push the pedal down real far. So it's probably not activating the switch. I bridged out the wires. It's getting power. Goes to the taillights turn on. Still got no crank off the key. I now have the coolant light. There was a wire not in the fuse box, so I've hooked that up. I've got power going to the water light and the low coolant sensor, so they're both working and they time out like they're supposed to, but still no cranking off the key. It didn't crank off the key when I got it off my mate. They were bridging the starter motor. They couldn't work out why either. It's always had this funny switch down here, and then these two wires come from the ignition harness. So I thought, oh well, maybe that's an interrupter switch, like a kill switch, like most old people do. So I'm like, oh, I'll pull the switch out and I'll bridge the wires. Still no crank. Right, that's interesting. So I probe. If I can do this one-handed, I probe this wire with the red terminal and hold it on crank, and I've got power. So I think the park neutral safety switch is dead in this thing, and that's why it wasn't cranking. So that's great. I'll put that isolation switch back in because it might be handy, but no one's really going to know how to steal this fucking thing anyway. I'll test that the switch works first, and then I'll put it in, and yeah, it can be its starter motor isolation switch. Go back up on the hoist, we'll have a look at the park and neutral safety switch, maybe bridge that out and see if we get crank at the starter motor. Because it's getting signal from the ignition barrel, so it should crank. That's what I would hope. And if it does, I'll just bridge it out for now, and then I'll order a new, it's not on the road anyway, I'll order a new park neutral safety switch and I'll put that in. It's only a turbo 700, so it's not too terrible. But yeah, still got bugger all dash lights, so I'm working through that at the moment. Well, turns out it's not on the gearbox, it's on the bottom of the steering column. So I'll put the car back down and we'll dig into there. Hopefully it's still there. I don't know what they've done with this right-hand drive swap where they've cut the column and that, so we'll see. Apparently it's a purple wire and a purple wire with a white stripe. you can connect them two together and it bypasses it. So that's probably what we're going to do for now. Oh, I've got them unplugged. I've got them both unplugged. So I'm guessing one would be reverse and one would be park neutral safety. That one's got a purple in it, so I'm going to join them two together. And then the reverse wire at the back's green, so I'm going to guess that's probably reverse side. I don't have reverse lights in it, so I can't test that. Well, the only wire I had with enough length is one with the toggle switch on it, but we've got crank now, baby. So now I've got to work out why I don't have power to the fuel cut. But we're getting there. We're getting through it. Bloody hell! What an absolute fucking pain in the ass this is turning out to be. I thought I had the wiring harness sorted. Apparently not. There's 1,000 fucking gremlins with it, so I still haven't sorted out the indicators of the headlights. Fully finished that yet either. I wanted to see if I can get it crank off the key, and I do. Sweet. Right, so I've got power to that big red wire, and then that green wire went there. I don't have power on it. Maybe it didn't want power. I'm not sure. It's in a connector here that looks like it's plugged into ground. So that's the way it was. I'm going to leave that. I've cranked it and it's not starting. I've got no smoke, so I'm thinking it's probably needs bleeding again. I'll undo that and we'll just crank a bit of fuel through it. Where's this key? Okay. Fuel there. It'll smell like diesel by the end of this day. Again. Okay. Well, I wound that the wrong way, didn't I? Okay, so we've got fuel to that. We'll see. I might give it a bit of a bump. First start off the key. Still smoky as a little buggery, but it hasn't been started in a while. And it's, you know, misfiring, hiccupy, carrying on. 13 volts on the volt gauge, oil pressure's pegged, which it was before I started, so was the fuel gauge. Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Do we have any, now it's running, do we have anything different? Doesn't look like it. All the lights and everything are the same. See if she wants to rev up a bit that night. terribly smoky. I'm hoping that's going to get better eventually. Hoping. It's running on all 8 now, at least. Yeah, I've only got 3 glow plugs, but you can't use glow plugs at Aerostart, so it seems to be doing its thing. Alright, I've done a bit of research, and so that was the fuel cut, and then this one back here is an advance for cold weather starting. So that doesn't need to be hooked up in theory. Maybe that's why it does the weird thing where it holds RPM, because it's the injector pump's advanced real far forward. So in theory it should just need this one to start. Oh, that'd be why it stalled, because it'd come off. Mad. So I'll plug that back on. Come on, old darling. Well, that didn't last long. Pulling it all back apart again. What a pain in the ass. Right, I've got the dash cluster back out, and the dash lights are actually working, if you can see. They're just really dull. That one's super bright because it was using a different style bulb. This whole harness mess was plugged into that, so yeah. The high beam light didn't work. I swapped that bulb out, so now we've got high beam light, and I found this plug here. These 2 traces were like peeled up and touching, these 2 traces were like peeled up and touching the other ones, so that's probably why the indicators and that were coming on and what have you, because I sort of half folded them back down and it's not doing it anymore, so that might be fixed until I put it back in and it doesn't work. Yeah, it's something, I guess. And the gauges are still all over the place, but that's probably stuff in the engine bay more than anything. Like the oil pressure gauge is pegged. The only things that work is the clock and the amp meter, by the looks of it. Water temp is all over the place as well, depending on where the ignition barrel is. So that's weird and wonderful stuff. But yeah, the little copper's like peeled off. I've got to flatten this one out a bit. It's sort of doubled over, and then poking back down. The rest are all right. But yeah, those two were like folded over on themselves. I didn't really look when I plugged it back in, so that's on me. But yeah. High beam light switch is still working, so that's good. Alright, working through her. So we've got all the gauge and everything working at the front. Worked out the reverse lines to the rear that I wired up work. That's good. So I started working out why I didn't have oil pressure or water temp. So I found the water temp sensor where it's supposed to go. It was plugged. It goes all the way down here. And then that was the water temp wire, mad. And then the oil pressure sender was already in there. It just was not plugged in. I plugged that in. It's got like 40 psi oil pressure cranking. So that seems like a good thing to me.